All right, so I'm bringing in the milk. Oh, you don't want the headlight?
No, I can't see you.
Okay. So I'm bringing in the night. It's a nighttime milking. I like to milk at 10 and 10. Sometimes I actually work in the middle of the night, so I don't have time for bullshit. Now, I know you've all been wondering, what the hell does Lynn do on this farm? Well, not a hell of a lot. That's just the truth, and not. But she does take care of all the milk. And in fact, she makes all our cheese and our yogurt and our butter and all of that stuff. Because I can't do everything. I try, but I can't.
No.
I can't.
No.
So I hope that you will enjoy watching her make the cheese.
After the milk has cooled for several hours in the refrigerator, you'll see that the cream, the milk fats have risen to the top. What I do every day, twice a day, is I collect these and I keep them in a jar. I have a quart-sized mason jar. I collect this twice a day, put it in this mason jar and keep it in the refrigerator. And then once a week, on Saturday or Sunday, depending on when it happens, I go ahead and make all this lovely yumminess into butter. And that's what we use instead of margarine. That's what we use for our butter on a regular basis. Then I take this milk that has cooled really well and I pour it through a strainer again and a funnel, and I pour it into half-gallon bottles. We use bottles that fruit juice originally came in, and we save them. They're half-gallon, 64-ounce bottles. They seal really nicely. If we're going to freeze it, I only fill it about this high. It's not quite 64 ounces, but as we all know, when liquids freeze, they expand, and you don't want it to bust out of the bottle. If I'm going to use it for milk, I take it all the way up to the very top, and it takes 2 of these to make mozzarella, 1 of these to do yogurt, 4 of them to do a hard cheese, etc. Okay? So that's basically part of how I handle the milk. All right, so Selena has brought in the milk. And the first step after she brings in the milk...
Why do I always have to do everything?
The first step after she's brought in the milk is that I need to filter it for anything that might have dropped into it, like goat hair or whatever, and get out any kind of particulates. Notice all this lovely foam on the top. The foam means that this is good, fresh milk and that they're milking really well. It also means there's no cholesterol left in the milk, which of course there's not because it's been weeks now. But when they first come fresh, it doesn't have that nice foamy head, and that's usually because it's full of cholesterol, that good first milk that the babies all need to drink, but is not particularly tasty for us. So where do I filter it and how do I do that? Well, it's really a lot simpler than it seems. It's really important that the milk be cooled. All milk, not just goat's milk. If you drink it straight out of the animal without cooling it first, it has an odd animal taste. It's stronger based on what kind of animal it is, and definitely based on what kind of feed they have. If they've been eating something really weird in the pasture, you can usually tell it in their milk. But the best way to get it to tasting delicious, other than just having really good milk goats, which we do have, is to cool the milk before you do anything with it for your own consumption. So I use a broad-lipped bowl, one that is going to aerate really well and cool really well. And I just use a simple sieve. It's really easy. You get one at the dime store for a little bit of nothing, a dime or a dollar, depends on when you get it. And then just strain it right through. It goes through, catching anything that you might need. Now I'm going to filter this one more time. When I take it out of this bowl, I will strain it again when I put it into the containers where we'll keep it. So it gets strained twice before we use it for anything for ourselves. So now I'll just take this bowl, set it in the refrigerator. The next step is, of course, is what I do with it after it's cooled. Okay, and finally, I showed you that I was collecting the what rose to the top on the milk in this jar, and it's been a week of collections, and I have just spent about 40 minutes shaking it. And so now we have, if you can see or hear it, we now have whey in there, as well as the milk fat. So what I do is I pour out the contents into a big sieve, allowing the whey to flow out as much as possible. I actually collect that whey and use it because that is what the old-timey folks call buttermilk. Hang on just a second. So I collect that and I actually use it. Then I take what's left, which is actually basically butter, and I put it in my good old metal bowl that I use for so many things. Stainless steel is so good because when you use stainless steel, you can sanitize it really, really easily. Okay, it's time for salt. There's about a cup of what's going to be butter in here. And that needs about a teaspoon of salt rather. We usually use, I think I've told you, we usually use iodized sea salt. You can really use whatever you prefer to use. I have found that the canning salt can be very strong, so if you use it, you might want to be very careful how much of it you use until you know what you're doing. Okay, and I pour the buttermilk as it forms, as I'm able. It's kind of the butter is really wanting to come out of here. There we go. A little more buttermilk. So how do we keep this? Well, it's salted butter. I don't put any kind of dye in it, any kind of color. Yes, I have cheese color. Yes, I have something I could use, but I don't use it. What we do is we freeze it. We freeze it in these little containers that are probably about 1/3 of a cup. And I simply fill it. With the nice sweet butter. Put a lid on it and freeze it. And when we need butter, instead of taking out a stick or a tub, we pull one of these out of the freezer. Lasts us several days. Thank you very much for watching everything. There will be some further episodes on how to make mozzarella and how to make yogurt and anything else that people might be interested in. And also, as Selena mentioned, we're trying to fill in with things we can do in the house while we have my mother-in-law and my sister both recuperating from long hospital stays. It's kind of hard for us to get away, both of us at the same time, to film anything outside. So you all stay safe. Please take all appropriate measures to keep yourselves and your families safe. Bye.